So today I'm not talking about a new movie, I'm talking about an older movie that is getting a new release, and that is the Justice League. The Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League just got confirmed, which is insane to me.
When will you release the Snyder Cut?
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. It's a hard question. I don't know. What do you think, Henry?
I reckon you should show it.
We're doing it, so get ready.
When this movie released in 2018, I believe, it was met with pretty much universal disdain. Most people hated this movie and everything that happened behind the scenes, which was mainly the reason why it came out as such a sloppy, underdeveloped nightmare film. Because Zack Snyder, who was the original director of Justice League, had to leave production because his daughter committed suicide, and obviously he needed to be there for his family, which is just a horrible, horrible thing to happen. But the studio said, we're not gonna let Zack Snyder's departure push the release date of this film back. We're not gonna let that ruin our film. So what they did is they hired Joss Whedon of Avengers fame, of Firefly fame, to come in, reshoot, re-edit, and rewrite Justice League and make it a under 2-hour movie. That was one of the big studio notes that everyone was talking about. The movie couldn't be over 2 hours long because all of the Zack Snyder movies were 2.5 to 3 hours, and a lot of people complained about the length of those movies, so they said, okay, Justice League needs to be shorter, and it needs to be more bright, vibrant, and goofy. It needs to be more like a Marvel movie. So Joss Whedon was brought in to make it more like a Marvel movie. And while that worked in spurts in the movie, it was clear that there was two butting heads in this movie of style. Joss Whedon's style is very open, it's very bright, it's very comic booky, superhero-y, and that's why a lot of people like the Avengers movies, because it's goofy, it doesn't take itself super serious, it's lighthearted, it's kind of witty, and that's what Joss Whedon brings to any project he's a part of. But when he is brought in to sort of fix Zack Snyder's version of a movie, it ends up being a complete nightmare because their two styles are on literal opposite ends of the style spectrum.
That was last night.
Ilan Earthal T.
Icebergs in the harbor. 12 months since the last ship got through.
The box of men
I believe
would be
that an
tempted
enemy
to
is
use its
coming
power.
from far away. I'm looking for warriors.
So when you have one person making a movie and one person that is brought in to sort of change that person's style, it just doesn't work. And you can tell very clearly in the Justice League cut, the theatrical cut, that there are two budding styles. It's actually very obvious what Joss Whedon shot and what Zack Snyder shot and what they changed. It's actually painfully obvious, which is one of the biggest detractions from the film, is that it is so obvious the changes that were made, and it hurts the movie for the worse. But just released, just confirmed, is that Zack Snyder is officially making his version of the movie, which is rumored to be 4 hours long, which is the most Zack Snyder thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And this is something that's sort of unprecedented. I'm not sure I've seen something like this ever happen. Now, I'm sure there's probably something that has happened in the past that I don't remember or I can't think of that someone will point out and make fun of me for in the comments, but I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a movie made by a studio, a director drop out of the project with family issues, another director brought in to fix that director's version, and then an angry mob on Twitter basically forcing the studio to let the first director remake his movie. That's kind of insane to me. Of course, Zack Snyder in his past has released almost every movie he has a director's cut to it, but this is like a different movie. This isn't a director's cut of the Justice League. This is a different Justice League. It's double the length, allegedly. It is a completely different story. The villain is different. The characters' motivations apparently will be different. Like, it is not the Justice League. It is a different, it's like an alternate reality version of the Justice League that we'll be getting in 2021, which is why I wanted to talk about this, because it's insane to me. Excuse me.
Can we ask you some questions? It's for our podcast.
Well, in that case.
How many people
Again, this isn't sort of uncommon for Zack Snyder to release different cuts of his movies. I mean, you get Watchmen, which has a theatrical cut that's like 2.5 hours, a director's cut that's like 3 hours, and then an ultimate cut that's like 3.5 hours, but it's still the same movie. Each cut of the movie is still Watchmen. It's just that the director's cut has additional scenes, it has some character moments, it has some added dialogue, it has some added violence, and then the ultimate cut adds even more of that in, plus like a comic book that is being read that sort of coincides with the story. That was a part of the original graphic novel. So it adds different little elements to the movie, but it doesn't make the movie, I would think, better or worse. It's sort of like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which is like comparing two completely different things, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Lord of the Rings, the theatrical cuts of the movie are amazing. The extended cuts are also amazing, but they don't necessarily make the movie better. They just add more things that work into the movie. There are scenes that are obvious why they cut them out for pacing issues, for whatever reason, to make the theatrical cut feel better, for it to run better, but the extended cuts add a little bit of character things that are nice, add a little bit of dramatic scenes that are nice, add a little bit of levity, some humor that's nice. It doesn't make the movie better, it's just more of what you already like. So if you like The Lord of the Rings, the extended cuts is just more of that. And that is what most of Zack Snyder's other movies' director's cuts are as well. The Watchmen's director's cut is more of just The Watchmen.
I'm building an alliance to defend us. It's very important that I see this man. Barry Allen.
That's why I'm interested in the Justice League. Because again, it is not Zack Snyder's movie that he is then adding additional things into. It is going to be a different movie. So in that way, I'm interested. I'm gonna watch it, even though the Justice League is a terrible movie. I'm going to watch this Zack Snyder version on HBO Max. So it could be a complete train wreck, honestly. I'll be the first to acknowledge that the movie could just be awful. I mean, Man of Steel is not a good movie, and it was a complete front-to-end Zack Snyder movie. So this Justice League could be a dreadful piece of garbage that is bloated beyond belief. 4 hours is insane for a superhero movie, but if there's a story that's interesting and if they do character stuff, I'll be there. I'll enjoy it, more than likely. Is that gonna happen? Probably not, but who knows? You really never know. Again, I wanna watch it, I'm interested in watching it, but I feel like this could open a can of worms that may be not the best, because this could rally people into forcing or trying to force studios into making the thing that they want. What's next? Are people going to go insane and say that Disney has to strike the 3 Disney trilogy movies off the record and that they're not canon anymore and that they're going to remake them? That would be insane. That would be literally insane. I think to an extent, people should be happy with what they're getting, which isn't to say that you should be happy that studios are just remaking old movies or making sequels endlessly. But I think if you're paying to see a thing, a product, and you're saying, I don't like this thing I just paid for, I want it to be this way, and I'm going to go insane until they make it that, until they mold it into this, that's a little bit much. It's hard to explain, but if we're paying for something and you say, I don't like that, that's okay. I mean, I do that literally every video I make is like that to some extent. I mean, I'll say, I love this movie, it's perfect, this is exactly how I would picture this movie being, everything is perfect. But then there's movies like the Justice League where I'm like, ooh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, I don't like this, move this over here and it might work better, yada, yada, yada. So you can have a product and have criticisms of the product, but I think, personally, if you have the product and then you say, I want it to be this way, and I will not rest, I will harass and go insane on people until they make the product the way I want it. That's a little bit much. So we'll see. We'll see if this develops into something the studios will be pursuing in the future, because it could be actually mildly profitable for a studio to do something like this. Justice League cut, the Zack Snyder cut, I think they said they're rumored to spend like 30 million on it, which is a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. And they're gonna pull in a massive audience to see this cut of the movie. HBO Max is gonna make a lot of money from this. So maybe studios in the future will see this as something that might be profitable, and we'll just get 15 different cuts of our movies to appease 15 different demographics of people, and that is something I never want to see. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about that.